All right, let me make sure if everyone can hear me, man. Put in that chat if you hear me. I'm sure some of you make it very apparent if you hear me. Give me a second. Okay. Almost done. How you guys doing, man? Technically, I did tell you we were starting at 4. But I do appreciate you guys chilling in the chat, man. I appreciate it. Unless it's Slow-Mo. If Slow-Mo's in there, I don't appreciate it. Because Slow-Mo's been taking some shots at me here lately. A lot of shots. It's all jokes, though. It's all jokes. All right. All right. So, hold up. Why do I still hear the background? All right, there we go. My voice is low. Am I not talking loud enough? Let me check. All right, I should be loud enough for you guys. There's no way you don't hear me. There's no way. I give a couple seconds just so I can double check that the chat can hear me. Can you hear me, chat? Am I loud enough for you, chat? Can you understand the words coming out of my mouth, chat? Meds. My man Meds. Hold up. Meds. You're loud. Okay. I'd rather be loud than not be heard. Hey, Meds, I'm going to join the Addict world in ILP in the server. Anyone that feels free, that you feel like you want to pull up, you can definitely pull up, man. It's like now not everyone can get into that chat, so you know I gotta kind of trust you on some kind of lore. I gotta make sure you're not crazy, man. That's my only real requirement is to make sure you are not crazy. That's the only requirement. So, Meds, jump in here, man. If you got time, jump in here. So, clearly, you know what we're talking about. This has been the key component to everything is Bethesda. And we've been talking about Bethesda so much. I'm tired of talking about Bethesda. But we have to talk about Bethesda because it's a big thing, man. It's not something small. Bethesda being bought by Microsoft is probably one of the biggest things that could possibly happen right now. Give me 15 seconds. I want to make sure that if my mic goes dead, I have a backup. Now, I have a wired mic around here somewhere, but it doesn't seem to be around. Okay, so, alright, so that is dead, but I'll just go ahead and keep this here. If you start on at 4:30, I should be. I should be around 4:30. I should be at least alive for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Just depends on what happens in the chat. Depends on how entertaining the chat makes me want to keep talking. All right, so let's talk about Bethesda games coming to the PS5. Now, I know a lot of you, I don't know how many of you in the chat, for say, but I know a lot of you are very interested in this term because this is a very big thing. This isn't something small. Like I said, Bethesda is a publisher that makes very quality games. And I know that they've had some misses throughout the past couple years, but the biggest thing I do want to point out is, first off, they fixed a lot of the issue games that they had. Elder Scrolls Online is a very successful brand now. Hell, even Fallout 76. I don't know how they fixed that shit, but that shit works just fine now. You know, I definitely am not going to look over the fact that they made Fallout 76 or they made Prey 2. But to me, you can't point their lows but not point their highs. Like, we're not acting like Wolfenstein was made 5 years ago. Wolfenstein was like, what, 2017, 18? I think 18. You know, Doom Eternal came out last year. That was pretty high up there too. Do you think the quality of the games will increase after the acquisition? I will get to the chat in a minute. Let me get my stuff off first. All right, so first thing I want to point out is, you know, the fact that when it comes to stuff like this, like we got to be fair with it, man. We cannot just have one side of the coin. If you look at it from like I said, Wolfenstein. When Wolfenstein, I can't remember because I'm not a big Wolfenstein fan. I tried. I actually enjoy Wolfenstein, but it's just not my cup of tea. I think I actually played a good amount of Wolfenstein, but at the end of the day, I couldn't gravitate towards it, man. Couldn't gravitate towards it. So to me, at the end of the day, just because I don't gravitate towards that game entirely, and I think Young Blood, see, I definitely agree with you. You know, they definitely are doing some cash grab, and I do think that you could use a type of, you know, they were trying to cash out because they knew they were trying to sell the company. Now, I don't know how serious they were about trying to sell the company, but that's besides the point. We're getting off the subject. Let's go back to Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein, the second one, was a good game. A lot of people enjoyed that game. Doom Eternal, good game. Doom 216, good game. Dishonored 1 and 2, good games. Sure, some of these games might not be your cup of tea, but they're good games. I mean, you know, The Evil Within 1 and 2, good games. People enjoyed them. You know, I can't get on this saying just because they made Young Bloods, just because they made Young Bloods and they made Fallout 76, that nothing else they make from here on out is ever going to be good. I can't get on that kind of mentality because it's idiotic to me. To me, the thing that you have to worry about is you have to worry about exactly what they're showing you and what type of games they're making. Now, you know, we'll have to see with Starfield. Now, I do think Starfield is definitely coming out. I don't know. It might not be this year. It might be next year. And we'll see a little bit more in terms of what kind of quality we can expect from Starfield at that time. Now, right now, I know, you know, and it's fair. No one knows what Starfield is. Completely understand that. I think it's going to be pretty much Bethesda's, you know, type of BioWare that they want to make. They want to make that Mass Effect game. That's what Bethesda wants to do. So, you know, regardless if it's going to be good or not, and once again, that's a subjective opinion. Like, regardless how you feel about some of their games, it's been extremely successful. You know, Elder Scrolls 5, you know, I mean, obviously we're talking a long time here. But, you know, it's not like this game was horribly rated. You know, and it's like I said, I give you guys a couple. You're 100%. I give you a couple. There are a couple games that they made that is questionable. That I'm just like, come on, man. You didn't have to do that because I think it hurts the brand overall. But, you know, I do think it's like I said, you could use the point that they probably were trying to be bought to some point and they're trying to cash out before it happens. Now, let's talk about the Elder Scrolls franchise. Regardless if you don't like RPGs, the Elder Scrolls franchise is extremely successful. Elder Scrolls 5 is literally a printing money. There has been such a demand for Elder Scrolls 5 that they have made it like 6 times. So, right there, you know, it's like I said, people need to stop, and I'm guilty of it too. You know, people like to say Addict World, and you know, I think it's just generally we want what we want. Cat Daddy in the chat, me and Cat Daddy, cool as dude. It's my dude. But at the end of the day, I might not want some of the games that he wants, and he might not want some of the games that I want. Should I care what Cat Daddy wants? Hell no. Should he care what I want? Hell no. Because we ain't buying each other's games. At the end of the day, we have to look out for ourselves. Now, you can be subjective, and you could be talking at from like an industry standpoint or a consumer standpoint. But me, as an individual, I do not care what Cat Daddy wants, and Cat Daddy, I know for a fact, does not care what I want. We have similar interests in certain games, but at the end of the day, we need to get out of this mentality of the addict war, quote unquote, that just because we don't like it doesn't mean no one likes it. And that's one of the issues I have with, the way things go. I feel like people want so much what they want that they're willing to say anything that they don't want is not going to be relevant. And I don't agree with that. I think that, Xbox needs to be more diverse. Xbox needs to have as many genres as they possibly can, but they can't just have genres. They need to have quality on top of genres. But you are welcome to buy me a game if you like. Look, man, Cat Daddy, I'm a broke dude, man. I'm broke. I'm broke. All right, man, I'm broke. But I guess I suppose I could gift you some silver on Destiny, but that's besides the point. Look, it's like I said, my biggest thing with Microsoft that I would prefer them to do is I would like Microsoft to try to be more diverse. I would like them to try to appeal to more of an audience as they possibly can. And that's the number one priority I have with them. Do you guys think I give two shits about racing games? I don't. I can't stand racing games. But I am not dumb enough to know, to not know that for every one person like me that's not into racing games, there's probably 3 that like it, and I think they're weird, but, I think people probably think I'm weird for liking turn-based games, because that's not everyone's cup of tea either. So, now, I got a couple bulletins here. So, that was how I wanted to start this, because I know what's going to happen. Let's say these games are exclusives. The first thing people are going to do is they're going to try to downgrade the quality of the games. And it's like I said, you could do that with a couple of their games. I definitely understand that. But for the most part, Bethesda has published and made good games. It's just the past couple years have been rocky. And I think you can really put that on the fact that they knew that, they wanted out of that. So I have to really go into the mindset that, it doesn't necessarily mean that their game's going to be bad in the future. It just depends on how Microsoft does with them. Now, let's go to my second point. All right, so a lot of people want to say, Addict, I get what you're saying. But my issue with what you're saying is the fact that there is a huge audience of PlayStation owners, like what 120 million PS4s, and I think probably at 10 to 15 million PS5s. I don't know how many they made, but you guys get what I'm saying. Could Microsoft not sell those games on those platforms? Now, obviously, Phil Spencer's come out multiple times. He's not multiple, just one time. He said that, they don't need PlayStation money to make this Bethesda deal work. I want to point out to you guys that Bethesda is primarily a PC company. They make games on ports. Hell, until they made more when they didn't even really make games on console. They've always been a highly focused PC company. That's why you don't really see, a lot of the published games. That's why a lot of their games come to PC, because they really focus on the PC crowd, because that's where the majority of their fans are. Now, if you look at stuff like Skyrim, I'm sure if you looked at the sell comparison between PC and console, it's not even close. And I'm willing to bet you could do the Doom Eternal, the Dishonored. I'm willing to bet you a lot of those sell the best on PC in general. So, will they lose money if they go to PC, if they do not sell PlayStation games? Of course. You're always going to have if you don't put your stuff on every project, you're going to have some form of a loss. It doesn't matter what you do. If some kind of, I'm horrible at analogies, but, let's say, a milk company, they only want to sell their milk in 2 stores and not 3 locally. Obviously, they're going to lose money because they're not selling it on that third, but is the business from that third store worth if the first 2 are making enough to keep them where they need to be? Now, the one I think I want to point out is there's a circle at Microsoft right now. They were a PC company. I think it's subjective. I think they're still a PC company, but we're going to move on. All right, so there's a circle. Microsoft is the circle. All right, now keep with me right now. Game Pass is in the middle of the circle, And every pillar that holds that circle up is any form of way that they can get Game Pass into the subscription of those people. So, for instance, you would have a console, that's a pillar. xCloud, that's a pillar. PC, that's a pillar, because they're gonna start doing this, the browser thing. So they are trying to get as many people into this ecosystem so they can subscribe to this Game Pass. Now, the biggest question I want to ask you guys is, when it comes to Game Pass, they've been very vocal about Game Pass. They've been we want Game Pass to succeed. So to me, why would you let the option of going somewhere else when you have stuff like xCloud that's coming up? And some of you might not like streaming, but xCloud is a decent form of entertainment. It's not supposed to replace your native experience, but it's supposed to be one of those things that, is an option if you want to. Now, to me, they're not focusing on the console anymore. But that doesn't mean they're not focusing on it. That just means that it's not their priority anymore. For instance, I think Microsoft's priority is the ecosystem. And if you're able to use something in that ecosystem to access Game Pass, that's the priority. That's why, sure, they're not coming out openly and saying that, we care about console sales anymore, because they do, but they don't. They do because that is a way. Yeah, all is well, man. I appreciate him, J-Boss. They do because that is a way to get into their ecosystem. That is a way to get into the Game Pass subscription service. Xbox, sure, if they didn't care about the platform, they wouldn't always try to innovate it, always try to do stuff. Like, why would you invest millions of dollars into stuff like Quick Resume, into an SSD model, into all the stuff that they're doing behind closed doors, if they had no intentions whatsoever behind trying to push the Xbox brand? That is the first thing I have to say. Now let me go to my next thing, man. Let me go to my next thing. All right, so and that's my point when it comes to PlayStation. Would they like that money from PlayStation? Yes. They would definitely like that 60 to 70 bones per game with PlayStation. Do they need that money from PlayStation? Absolutely not. All right, so, when it comes down to if they would put it on PlayStation, it's just depending on if PlayStation's willing to bend the knee and put Game Pass on it. And I don't think they will. Sony is clearly trying to build their own infrastructure when it comes to that with PlayStation Now and stuff. And if they put Game Pass on PlayStation, it would literally kill that service. No one would ever use it unless they, put PlayStation games on there day and date. And I don't think they would ever do that either. Maybe they would. I don't know. That is a hole that I'm not willing to go into. But it's like I said, in terms of that, I don't think that's something that they're willing to do, because as of right now, Microsoft doesn't have to really appeal to a PlayStation audience because they have the PC. They're able to sell those games on PC and maybe not get as much as they could if they did it on PlayStation 2, but with the PC, the xCloud, and the Xbox all in the subscription service, they're able to get the return that they want. Now, it's like I said, they're building their own ecosystem. Everything they have done from here on out is shown that they're building their own ecosystem. Let's talk about the infamous thing that people like to bring up. Let's talk about it. Minecraft. Hello, Luca. Everyone likes to bring up Minecraft because in 2013 or 14, Microsoft bought Minecraft. And they continue to update Minecraft on the competing platforms, and Minecraft Dungeons. That's on all things. I don't think that's the end all be all. I've always stated that Minecraft wasn't bought for gaming purposes. Sure, it's used in the gaming realm. It was mainly bought for the licensing purposes. It was bought because of the relationship Phil Spencer had with what was his name? Notch, I think that was his name, Notch, that they was able to leverage that relationship to get something as the entity of Minecraft to be able to do the Minecraft shows. They're doing stuff with Netflix to be able to sell the Minecraft merchandise. That's what their goal was. Now, it's still used in gaming, but I don't think that's the end all be all, and that's the number one focus when they were intending on buying Minecraft, was to evolve the gaming industry as of Microsoft. Now, let's talk about whether or not, when it comes to the ecosystem, are they willing to do something? I'm gonna have to like close off the chat real quick because I'm trying to focus, and I keep trying to read the chat real quick. I'll read the chat here in a couple seconds. Let me get this next point off. Now, Microsoft back then was doing things differently. They were doing things, a lot differently in terms of the gaming industry. Microsoft in general wasn't taking the Xbox brand as seriously as they are taking it now. To me, there was a good chance that Microsoft could have sold the Xbox brand if they got the right money. But they kept it, and it's looking like, people like Phil Spencer were able to leverage, the brand and get Game Pass to get them more, to take it more seriously. Microsoft's never spent this type of money on Xbox. They've never spent billions of dollars to buy all these studios. Not to mention, they're not just buying the studios. They're actually, they're hiring staff for the studios. They're bringing new devs. Hold up. So that makes me think that, look, when Minecraft was bought, Microsoft took gaming completely differently. Now, you see that they're buying studios. They're buying, they're trying to make new IPs. They're letting studios make different teams for different things. And that's something that Microsoft never did. And I think something like that, you could see the change in scenery with Microsoft in the way they make games. Now, let's talk about 2018. I think that's my next thing. 2018 was the year that they announced that they bought Ninja Theory, was the year that they announced that they bought Compulsion, Undead Labs, Playground Games, and they built the Initiative. The biggest question I have to the people who keep bringing up Minecraft, that happened in 2014, they keep asking, hey, Minecraft, that's on all platforms. Why would I think that Bethesda games are only going to be on PlayStation and Xbox, or Xbox in this case? And, there's people who think it's going to be multi-plat. The reason that I feel like it is because we could go off the Minecraft thing that happened in 2014, but we have recent changes of scenery. Is Hellblade 2 on PlayStation? No. Is Avowed on PlayStation? No. Is, what's another game? The game that Exile, they said that's not on PlayStation. Fable's not on PlayStation. And to me, if you were really serious about this life, about this getting your copies of your games to everywhere as you possibly can, then why don't you just bring Halo to PlayStation? Why don't you just bring, especially Forza? Forza would do great on PlayStation because of how inconsistent they are with the Gran Turismo license and how long it takes them to make a game. If you were serious about, I just want Game Pass to be day one, that's all I care about, I don't care about exclusivity, then why isn't Hellblade 2 on there? Why isn't Avowed on there? Why aren't those games? Now, to me, that's all the proof you need. That happened recently. That was 2 to 3 years ago. That didn't happen a decade ago, it feels like. 2014 is not a decade, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, are we going to go off something that happened in 2014? Or are we going to go off something that literally just happened? I'll let you guys decide that. Now I see a lot of people talking about whether or not, because Deathloop and the game that what's that company made that made The Evil Within, their new games, because those are going to PlayStation, I see a lot of speculation. Though they could stop that. I see people talking about the Wasteland 3 and the and what's that game called? Wasteland 3, the Outer Worlds, Double Fine's game. These games are different. I get it. We could talk about that. Wasteland 3, that was on multiplayer. The difference is when Microsoft bought Exile Entertainment, they didn't own the publisher that they made the deal with. Microsoft bought the whole branch of Bethesda. They bought the publisher. They bought the mother company, which is ZeniMax. They bought Bethesda. They even bought, the whatever that streaming service is. They bought everything. So, at my point is, to me, we can't use that as an example because when they bought this company that made Wasteland, the point was future games. It wasn't the games that's currently now, because when you have, legal binding stuff, you can't just pull it off. Like, first off, Microsoft probably would have to spend money on, to break some kind of agreement that they had with the publisher that they currently had. Now, if you talk about the Looper and whatever that game's called, they would have to pay Sony probably what they spent into to make it exclusive, and then they would have to put probably double what they put into make it exclusive to make Sony happy to not get the exclusive. Is that worth it? Are we talking maybe, I don't know how much money they spent on it, but I don't think that's worth it. I think at the end of the day, they want to make sure that, they get these for future purposes. And because they bought the publishing branch to Bethesda, they're able to have a lot more say on what's going on because they don't have a third-party entity to work with. They don't have to worry about, the private divisions with the Outer Worlds. They don't have to worry about, I don't even remember who published Wasteland 3. The only thing they have to worry about is we bought it all. So we don't have to talk to any publisher. We don't have to do none of that. And it's like I said, when it comes to the Deathlooper game, that was a pre-existing agreement that was made before the company was made. So they can't just break that unless they spend a bunch of money. People who use those examples clearly don't understand what's going on. Now let me get to the chat real quick for a couple of minutes. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm getting tired of the exclusive talk too, man. But it's interesting, and I do think we're on the verge of this ending. I do think pretty soon we're gonna know what's going on. Now I saw a question up here. So, do you think the quality of Bethesda games will increase after the acquisition or not? I mean, I don't know if they're gonna get some games, maybe they're smaller games, but to me, Bethesda was already a pretty decently funded company. Like, I hope people don't think they're just double their funds or anything like that. They were already making quality games. It's just they were rushing some of these games at the end. Now, I'm hoping that ends. I don't know exactly if that's going to end. It's something I don't know. I don't have information behind closed doors. But at the end of the day, we'll have to see exactly what happens. And I think we're going to find out here real soon. Now, I ain't going to talk about the future of Xbox. There's some things that's annoying me with Xbox right now, and I want to bring it up a little bit. But when it comes to the Bethesda thing, I just don't see it. I just don't see a reason why they would do something like that. Now, obviously, it could easily go that way. They could easily make it multi-plat. I think the way it's going to go is I think it's going to be step by step, case by case on the multi-plat. I think certain games will be multi-plat depending on what makes sense. Now, it's like I said, when it comes to what I see around here, it's looking like Starfield's going to be coming out this year. And I'm pretty confident it is. Now, it might not because of this pandemic. It's the only reason that makes me think there's a reason that, there's a chance it might not because of the pandemic. But if it comes out this year, that's the game that's going to tell everything. If that game's exclusive, you can bet your ass everything else is going to be exclusive. Let me see here. It's a win-win. If they put the games on other platforms, money in its Game Pass, money people would need to stop with the console war in mind. I don't even necessarily think it's something like that. I think when it comes down to it, it's about what makes sense. If they're trying to build the ecosystem of Microsoft, and they're trying to make sure that when it comes to Game Pass in general, and they're trying to wield people into that service. If you give people an option to buy it on another platform, you're not going to do that. Like, so what they've showed me, and it's like I said, Microsoft always be changing up, so it could easily change up. But from right now, what I see, I don't know. Why do you keep making weird, passionate, aggressive comments? And is there any bad blood between you? What are you talking? What do you mean weird passive aggressive comments and hidden threats to Jez Corden? I literally was talking to Jez Corden before this show. Can you explain to me what you meant by that, man? Just tell me, man. What did you mean? Am I secretly talking shit about Jez, man? Jez, my dude, man. I love Jez to death. I'm definitely not. No bad blood between me and Jez. He's a good dude. He's always been very supportive of me, and I've always be grateful to him and Rand, Diller, and them. You know, they've always gave me decent advice, and there's no bad blood. So, you know, so let's see. I saw something else. Well, I'm staying. Hold up. I'm reading, man. I'm reading. Let's see. Bethesda now. What's next? Steam. They're not buying Steam, man. They're not buying Steam. I don't know why people think they're buying Steam. I think that there's a good chance they're going to buy Sega. I think there's a lot of stuff going around that is about them buying Sega. I see people talking about the Jason Ronald interview that we did on IOP. I guess I'll talk about that briefly. Look, I didn't even mean for it to go like that. Like, I felt like we might have been asking them a little bit too tough questions, too many of them. Not that we're asking them tough questions, but I felt like maybe we're asking a little too many too quick. And I just wanted, you know, a quick question that, you know, we could just, oh, what's your most hyped game this year, Jason? Let's talk about games for a couple minutes before we go back into the stuff that, you know, we're going into. So it is what it is. I didn't expect him to answer the way he did. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about maybe Starfield. Because people are running on Twitter and they're saying that he said an Xbox. Like, what's crazy is how people do. Hold up. See, I was doing fine in terms of my coughing until I got on here. Then I guess my cough just like, you know, we're coming back. So, Jason Ron, he threw us a bone, man. He did. He answered that in an interesting way that I didn't expect. And I see people on Twitter, they're putting on the headline. They're kind of like trying to make it seem like he said it's an unannounced Xbox exclusive. Well, that's not what he said. He said there are games that haven't been announced. It's my favorite. And that's what he was talking about. No, I do not have corona. I just have I just been a little under the weather here recently. All right, so hold up. I guess what's his name said something else. For example, you wrote in the Xbox chat, "I'm watching you, Jez." It's just a joke between me and Jez. There's no beef. It's just a joke. You know, I'll go. It's just a cough, man. It's just a cough. I've been fine all day, but I come in here, bam, start coughing again. Go figure. So, you know, it's like I said when it comes to the Jason Ronald thing. I don't understand why people love to do clickbaity stuff, and I understand making it appear like if you look into a lot of the articles. Like, the first sentence is, he didn't technically say anything Xbox. And I'm just like, why did you put Xbox in the title acting like it was? But, you know, it is what it is. I just hope that, you know, that Jason doesn't get in any type of trouble. I don't think he will, because he didn't really say anything. But you know how it is. Like, sometimes these PR people get really, you know, uncomfortable with certain backlashes. And I'm pretty sure he'll be fine because, you know, he didn't really say anything out of pocket or anything like that. I asked him that question as a joke. and it turned out to be everywhere. I was quoted on IGN, Windows Central. Well, the podcast was. I myself wasn't, but the podcast was, which is good, man. You know, I think that's like the second or third time IOP has been quoted on IGN. So it's always a nice thing to see, you know, the stuff that we do finally get recognized in like bigger audiences. If that makes sense to you guys. Now let's talk about the future of Xbox. I don't know how I want to do this. Part of me wants to do it from like a short-term perspective and then a long-term perspective. Now, before we do that, I do have to talk about them in Japanese titles. Like, the way things are going right now, I think there's a good chance that Xbox doesn't get Final Fantasy VII Remake. And that's disappointing because... Hold up. I apologize for that. Hopefully that water will help me not cough as much. But, you know, where was I? Oh, yeah, the Japanese things. We're not getting Final Fantasy VII. I'm very disappointed with that. You guys know I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan. And I don't like the fact that there's a chance, even, like, okay, the year exclusivity is supposed to end this month, and I'm just like, to me, I feel like if it was going to end this month and it was going to another platform, I feel like we would know by now. Like, it's literally about to end in like 2 weeks, and we don't know anything. Maybe afterwards we see something, but I'm just like, Microsoft, you got to do better. I play Game Pass. I literally just beat Dragon Quest 11. I loved it. It was an amazing experience. It was my first Dragon Quest game because I've always been on the Final Fantasy lane, not the Dragon Quest lane. And I loved what I played of Dragon Quest. But playing on Xbox, I couldn't help to think at the back of my head, this might be the only Dragon Quest game I played. And I don't like having that feeling that investing into a genre that I love that might not be on the platform. I think Microsoft needs to do better on that. They need to make sure they get the Personas. They need to make sure they get all these games on the platform because, to me, people keep saying, well, Addict, Microsoft's not going to, not Microsoft, Japanese developers aren't going to invest into a platform that their games don't sell on. And I agree with you. But at the same time, if you don't get the good ones, why would you continue to buy the platform? Like, if you just keep getting, like, you know, the average ones, then I'm just like, why, you know, people could say and they can make fun of mainstream stuff all they want. Like, people love gatekeeping mainstream anime. They love gatekeeping that. But to me, the mainstream anime is what made the industry so much bigger to invite more people on. So you can't attack people because they like playing the popular stuff in the genre. Same thing goes with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy VII revolutionized that entire genre. And Xbox doesn't have the remake. They got to fix that. Persona is one of the biggest JRPGs out there. And Persona 5 is not on the platform. They got to fix that. I get that they're doing everything they can across the seas when it comes to Japanese developers, and Microsoft's making good leeway, but they need to do better. Final Fantasy died a lot when, yeah, he did, and that's another thing. Like, Mistwalker's making mobile games again. Like, well, I mean, he never stopped making them. But it's like, I wish that he would do something, man. Like, go over there, write that man a check and get him a game, man. All right, so what is your favorite game from the studios under ZeniMax? Oh, that's a tough one. Like, I would have to say probably the Bethesda Studios because that's what I play the most. Bethesda Studios. I love Elder Scrolls. I love Fallout. But I think the game that I would consider besides that, it would probably be Arcane Studio. I really like the Dishonored games. And this new one, Deathloop, it doesn't look appealing to me. and it has nothing to do with it being exclusive to PlayStation. I'm gonna have a PS5 here pretty soon. I had to buy one because of that Final Fantasy VII Yuffie thing, so I got to make sure I have that. But when I look at that, I'm just like, man, like, I love Dishonored, and hopefully them going with Microsoft will. The good thing about smaller titles such as Dishonored is the budget isn't as something as big as like a Halo or an Elder Scrolls. I would say it is a AAA title, but it's in like the lower end of a AAA title. And it will be easier to get games like that greenlit because Game Pass will pay for the development by itself. You know, one of the things that I've noticed people don't understand is, you know, Microsoft needs to improve on their marketing. And I've always told people that, you know, it's hard to market stuff when you don't have stuff to market. And we got to be real here. Microsoft has not really had the greatest games to market. Are you going to spend $80 million to market something that's not going to sell because it's not a great game? You don't market average games. You put mad money behind good games because that's why you want to market it, because you know that people are going to play that because it'll be worth marketing because it's a good game. You don't want to market to that extreme and then get destroyed on Twitter because it's a bad game. Let me look here. I want to see more from Tango. That's the people who make The Evil Within, right? Pretty sure that's the people who make The Evil Within. Getting my PS5 Friday, got luck on the Best Buy. Man, hit your boy up. Every time they post something, I always miss it. I want to get that PlayStation. I've had the money for months, but I just cannot get lucky. I keep missing it, man. I keep missing it. It's very frustrating. Getting spammed by invites. Hold up. All right. Let me go back. All right, so, you know, let's go back to what I was saying. We got completely sidetracked there. I apologize. Meds, are you still there? It is 4:35, so feel free to join anytime you want. I'm probably going to be here for like another 30 minutes. I got a little bit more to talk about in terms of Xbox. I'm going to still rant a little bit more on this Japanese stuff because I'm very disappointed with it. Alex, what is your opinion on the Say No to Rage situation? I thought that situation was over with. Like, I thought we determined that he wasn't a good person in general, and we canceled him. I thought he was done. Did he do something else? Is there more going on to Say No to Rage than has been already set? Oh, go on. All right. Yeah, I've been trying. Yeah. Okay. I notice a lot of Xbox gamers say they have no interest in a lot of PlayStation exclusives, but love 99% every Xbox game, even the horrible ones. Why is that, Addict? I don't know. I'm not going to debate with someone on that type of game they like. Most likely they capping because, you know, I always be making fun of Kid Smooth because he be liking games like Lucky Tales. Like, Lucky Tales is just not my type of game. And I don't think it's his type of game either. But, you know, I don't know why Kid Smooth plays that stuff. And I'm sure that you were talking about people like Kid Smooth. You know, Kid Smooth has said he didn't like certain games. Like, for instance, we've all said we didn't like Sea of Thieves. You know, State of Decay was busted as hell, but I enjoyed State of Decay. It's just the game was busted. I hope the next game is higher quality and it doesn't have bugs like the other one did. All games will be exclusive, baby. Death Singer, you could join into this Discord. I'm in the Discord if you feel so strong about that, man. If you so strong about that, I'm in this Discord. And I'm pretty sure you have permission to come in here. He has proof that he was innocent and people who accused him intentionally faked evidence. He got the proof directly from the security company of the event. Then just show that. I don't want to hear about what type of evidence someone has. We're not going to talk about this because completely off the rage. If the dude's got evidence, show it. That's all I have to say. I don't want to hear anything else from him until he's shown the evidence. What's up, Death Singer? I think that's you. Let me make sure they can hear you. Talk. Oh, God. You know, all right, talk now.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah,
How's
so
it going?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. We about to break down Xbox in the next 4 years. How you feel about that, man? How you feel about that?
I am so excited. I got my boys at Obsidian working on it. Oh man, as an RPG fan, this is like the pinnacle of excitement because look how many Western RPGs are going to be coming out in a 4-year time span. Think about how many are going to come out.
It is. It's a lot. Well, no, speaking of RPGs, would you say because I get annoyed, like I get annoyed on both specters. I get annoyed that when people say that Microsoft doesn't need to make any type of games like Sony does, because I do feel like there's clearly an audience for that. So you got to make some form of those games. You don't have to make nothing but those type of games. But I do feel like, to me, Microsoft, the initiative, because I don't have that standpoint. It's got to be a brand new IP. If it's a good game, it's a good game. People will gravitate towards it as long as it's good. I think that Microsoft needs to have like that one studio that makes those type of games, which they already have those type of games. If you think about it, they have Hellblade. That's a third-person action adventure. Or I get, maybe it's not action adventure, but you get what I'm saying. Like Gears of War. So like,
Yeah.
to me, I feel like Microsoft is competing with Sony in terms of, okay, you're going to take that. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to compete with you with RPGs, and I think that's been their play. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I'd say that as well because PlayStation typically is really great with JRPGs. Well, given Xbox is, kind of affiliated with Western RPGs, it makes sense that'd be more to their market since, Xbox really doesn't do anything in Asia and Japan for the most part. So, but it does incredibly well in America and the West, so cater to your market, I guess, at that point.
Now, let me ask you a question. Someone brought up in the chat, they brought up Soulsborne type of games like Bloodborne, Demon Souls. Do you think Microsoft needs a studio that makes those type of games?
They don't need no. You could probably get like a second party or a deal for one of those kinds of games.
I agree. I agree.
Because like Blood, it's
because that's clearly a growing audience, and that's clearly a reason that people would get a platform. Like look how many people bought PS5 just for Demon Souls. I mean, Luca, I don't know if she's in the chat. She bought it for Demon Souls. So I mean, I've always been the standpoint that you could buy a game for what you could buy a whole console for one damn game, easy, as long as the game's good enough.
Yeah.
And I stand behind that. We need better games. That's what it is. I've always been a standpoint when it comes to third party, second party timed exclusives. Timed exclusives matter if you have the right one. Look with Final Fantasy VII. Do you agree that was a timed exclusive worthy of paying money for?
Yeah. Look at what it did.
Look at Tomb Raider that Microsoft did. Do you think that did anything?
No.
I wouldn't say that was a bad, but they let that game get killed in its release date. But that's all I have to say. So let's go ahead and set this up. Let's set this up, Death. How do you think this year is going to be with Microsoft?
They're gonna they'll release one unannounced game as well as Halo. But 2021, you could probably write that off. You'll probably only get Halo on one other game. But 2022, you're gonna start.
So hold
seeing
on, we'll go to 2022 here in a second.
Oh yeah.
So
because like if you think about it, PlayStation will release what they go Ratchet and Clank, but that's been pushed so far back. Let's say they have a Horizon. I don't see God of War, so I think it's gonna be a pretty sparse year in terms of exclusives. Like strictly speaking, from first party. Some people could drop something random at around E3 time. They have an announcement and they'll be like, oh, by the way, drop in winter 2021, for example. I mean, it's possible. The cards ain't been revealed yet. Because I was looking at the Game Informer, and they have every release date of every game coming out this year. It stops at June. After June, there is literally nothing. There's like one game. It's like, so what's coming out for the rest of the year?
I I think there's. I mean, obviously, there's rumors about the Dying Light scenario. I think that there could be some realms of truth behind that. They might have secured that as a something to make the holiday look a little bit better. Now I don't know if they bought that. The studio, I think that might be a little of an outcry. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Now here's all I know. I was like, they're able to secure and what, maybe it wasn't them, maybe Microsoft had a little bit to do with it, I don't know, but they were able to get the show on their platform regardless if it was not them intentionally doing it or if it was the people who own the what's the organization that does baseball. I don't do sports.
MLB.
Yeah, MLB. Regardless if it was them that forced Sony to do it, they still have it on their platform, and that's still going to help them this year because it's going to come out on PlayStation, but it's going to be just like it does every time. Like it comes out on Xbox, it's going to be an event because it's never been on Xbox. So here's my question to you: we haven't had a Forza in a while. You think we're getting a Forza this year?
No.
Okay. I think that's pretty accurate too. I think they are taking their time with Forza. I think they're going to really break Forza down. And they're going to try to rebuild that brand as something else.
You'll get an announcement this year, but it's not coming out this year. I think they'll show it at like a E3 showing kind of thing. But now, it's not going to release this year.
Let's talk about E3 this year. What kind of a... Okay, not E3 because E3's dead. What the event equivalent that they're going to do it, what do you think you could see coming out of that?
I could probably see stuff already announced. So they might drop something to do with like the Fable and Avowed, because they're probably coming along nicely with them. You'll probably see Forza. You'll see like gameplay of Halo.
I don't think Fable's there. I don't think Fable's there at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a distinct possibility. It depends. I don't know how far along they are with that. Then you have, we definitely see Halo gameplay. Because if they don't show Halo gameplay, that's going to be an L. Because they need to prove. By the way, Halo Infinite
they're going to show Halo gameplay. There's no way they're not going to.
Yeah.
So Fuzzy in the chat says Xbox needs a fighter. Killer Instinct 2. Would you agree? We can't say the game wasn't successful. It was.
It was successful, but will they go back to the Killer Instinct IP? I mean...
I think they would if they had a dev. I think that's one of the issues.
If they had a capable dev to do a fighting game, yeah, I could see it. But at the moment, no, because I can't see any of the studios Xbox has at the moment that could make a competent fighting game.
I can agree. I definitely can agree on that. Let's talk about acquisitions this year. I think if they announced after Bethesda they're buying something, I think it would be this year. Do you think they buy Sega?
Oh, man. That's the big question. Will they buy... Sega's moving funny. They're moving funny in these gaming streets. They split from their main person. They're kind of like doing their own thing. They're probably in trouble somewhere along the line. There's probably some troubles. And they're probably looking for a buyer. Sony probably wouldn't. So it'd be great if they could. Do I see it happening this year? I don't. I don't see them announcing another acquisition.
So you think Bethesda will be the only one this year?
Because they'd want to capitalize off Bethesda. Because as soon as the deal's closed and done, they want to show off all the new Bethesda games. They want the showcase to be, look at what Bethesda's doing. Give shine to their new studios.
I agree. Now, how do you feel? One of the biggest issues we have is quality. That's the biggest issue on Xbox. Do you feel like in the next couple years we'll see like a huge increase in quality, or you think that they're going to try to pump out as many like good experiences in terms of like a AA as possible to get more games out in general?
No, we'll see quality because like studios like the Coalition, Turn 10, 343 aren't going to be pressured because Microsoft actually has studios now. They have tons of games, so they don't have to rush and pump out like a Gears every 2 years or a Gears every 4 years. They could sit back and take their time, take a good like 4 years out. They don't have to rush because there's other games coming out, and the smaller studios like Undead Labs, like Obsidian, before they were purchased, like their games before that, they were, on a budget, they're indie, they have to, quickly pump it out to meet the deadlines, very little money. So I could see, like, Undead Labs, this next game would be way superior to State of K2, for example. And Obsidian will probably take it to a better level than what the Outer Worlds was, because they now have time and money. That's what I can say. So, the quality will go up because they don't have the pressure of having to pump out games.
I agree with you there because Meds joined. We'll get to Meds in here in a couple seconds, but I do agree with you in terms of if you have more to constantly be coming out, it's not on the games that you currently have. Like up until now, if 343 came to Microsoft, I'm like, yo, we need to delay Halo. We need more time. What do you think the first thing Microsoft's gonna say? Yo, you the only game we got coming out this year. I don't care what you do, and it's coming out this year. But if they have more games to come out and to fill out that void, I feel like they'll give everyone more time to work on a game. How you doing, Meds?
Hey, what's up, man? Sorry I took a little longer than I thought. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
You do.
All right, cool. I'm using a cheap headset mic, so I apologize for that.
You're fine. So, all right, Meds. I haven't really got your opinion on this. We're gonna go back just briefly.
Okay.
Is Bethesda games coming to PlayStation?
I really doubt it. The majority of them probably not. No.
All right. So there you go, folks. So we don't need to go too much into that. All right.
Yeah, it's not really. I just think like maybe the ESO, perhaps, maybe. Because there's already a lot of PlayStation gamers invested into that world. You don't want to yank it away from them, all of a sudden. But any new games, I really don't see them coming to PlayStation. Just because if you were gonna make like some sort of Game Pass deal, if you wanted the games to come day one in Game Pass, you would have just made a Game Pass deal. Not
that's what I'm
the whole
saying. It would be cheaper to give them like $1 billion and say we want a year timed exclusivity, or year, you give Bethesda $1 billion. That's just a random number. Obviously, I don't know what it would cost, but it's say we want Starfield on Game Pass day one. That is easily going to cover what you would have sold on Xbox. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That would be way easier to do that than it would be to spend all that money.
I agree, man. I agree. If they're not going to make the games exclusive, then there's just simply no point in buying the company. So yeah, that's really the long and short of it. I don't really have much to add on top of it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. So what me and Death were talking about. We was talking about the future of Xbox, and right now, would you say, from what you're talking about now, the future is looking a little bright?
I think the future is very bright. I think the one downside to this is that the future looks very bright maybe 2 years from now. I don't think this year in particular looks super promising, and next year I don't see it being very promising either. But the future is very bright. It's just a matter of that waiting game that we've been playing with Xbox for years now. Wait till E3, wait till this, wait for the tools. It's people are tired of waiting, and that's really the problem. But I do think everything is going to get a lot better. It's just a matter of when.
All right, let me ask you this then. Obviously, there's a lot of waiting. There's always been a lot of waiting with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Do you think that with what's going on with Starfield, let's say that we're right and these games are exclusive, if Starfield comes out this year with Halo, you think that would make up for this year?
I think if Starfield comes out and it's up to the typical Bethesda standard, I'm talking Fallout 3, I'm talking Elder Scrolls 4 and 5.
You're talking about like plenty of side quests, deep RPG.
Yeah. If it's exactly what we want out of a typical Bethesda game, I think that and Halo Infinite makes for an even better year than PlayStation, because and that's going. That's assuming God of War doesn't come out this year, because I don't think it's coming out this year.
Yeah, I don't either. with you.
And obviously, Gran Turismo's confirmed not to be coming out this year, but I think that's better than a year of Ratchet and Clank and Horizon. I do.
And I'm starting to think Horizon's not coming out this year.
That's also a possibility, but I'm
being
not
told
willing
it's
to
like
go
a
that
50-50
far.
thing.
Yeah. I agree. It's probably a 50-50 thing, but assuming it comes out this year, I still think Xbox has a better year with Starfield and Halo.
Well, I mean,
that's subjective. That's subjective is really what you're into, right? But me personally, I would rather those games than, Returnal, Horizon,
especially
and
if they're
Ratchet
able
and Clank.
to turn Halo around. I know.
Yeah.
At this point,
Halo's
that
what
seems like
we
a
hope it
miracle.
is.
But okay, let's look at next year. All right.
Yeah.
What do you think comes out next year in terms of their AAA titles? Like, let's go and throw Bethesda in here. For
Hellblade comes out next year.
I think Hellblade comes out next year too. I think Forza Horizon comes out next year.
A Forza game for sure. Either Horizon or Motorsport, it's coming out. It's coming. Probably one of either Avowed or Fable. One of those two is probably going to be dropping.
I don't think they're. People have been telling me that Avowed might drop the end of next year, but I feel like that's like the middle of 2023. Like, I don't know why. Like,
it could be a few years away, but think about it. Playground last released the game when? 2019? When was Forza 4? 19 or 18?
It's been a while.
19.
If it was 19, that's 4 years. Wait, no, not 4, but 3. That's 3 years. That's enough time for a game.
And Addict, something to add to that? There was an article released in 2018 where the former head of Obsidian went to Obsidian, back to the old studio, to have a look around. Now, the curious thing was, this was when they released the Outer Worlds. There was a 10-man team on Grounded. There was a small little group doing the DLC for Outer Worlds. The rest of the team was working on an unannounced project. I think Avowed has been in production since 2019.
All right,
I think that's going to drop soon.
All right, let's say Avowed comes out next year. Because that is an argument. I can't say that there's not a good chance that comes out. That is an argument. Let's say Avowed comes out next year with Hellblade 2, Forza Horizon. Do you think?
By the way, Horizon 4 was 2018. So that's plenty of time, man.
Do you think there's a chance we see a Gears next year?
No, I think they'll wait a year.
It's been a minute for Gears.
But then again,
Gears 5 came out in 19.
But if they say
that'd be 3 years though. How long was it between 4 and 5?
It was 3 years.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a possibility we could see a Gears next year.
Go ahead, Addict. I'm sorry.
They could, but now they have the more games. So let's say you have 5 exclusives dropping in 2021. Let's say you have Hellblade, you have Forza, you have Avowed, you have, I don't know, 2 other things, right? Where'd you fit Gears in? You're like, okay, we'll give you another year to work on it and drop it in 2023 because we don't need to release Gears right now. We have games.
Not only that, but this is probably going to be the last Gears either ever or for a very, very long time. So I think they're going to take their time with it just so that they can come out with like a legit, bona fide, classic masterpiece just to cap it off, because you don't want to have, a mid, not mid, but maybe like not. You want this to be a blockbuster title, you know what I mean? You don't want it to be like a Gears 4 where Gears 4 was good but not great, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially ending another trilogy.
Exactly. You want it to cap off, perfectly. So they probably want to give it a little extra time. I wouldn't mind at all if they wait till 2023.
Let's say Gear. I think Gear. I don't even think it's a time thing. I think Gears could be done by next year. I just don't think they'll release it next year.
Yeah, they might just sit on it, maybe. That's possible.
If let's say they have already 5 games scheduled to release in 2022, right? They have 5 games. You don't need to release any more games. That's 5 exclusives. Like, and if they're big games, like 3 big games, 2 like AA games, for example, that's enough to carry you through the year. So you could just sit on them, and then next year you look at. Then in 2023, you look at the lineup and you're like, well, we could drop a Gears, we could drop a Horizon, we could drop a.
Yeah, because you don't want to blow your load all in one year either.
Yeah, that's why
I think I remember 2012 PlayStation did that. They released an exclusive every month, and half of them flopped.
That's why I feel like when it comes to Gears, like, because they take on Bethesda, and let's say the majority of Bethesda games are exclusive, you'll have so much that you'll have to start putting stuff back intentionally. Like, let's say that Avowed, Hellblade, Forza, you know, potentially Gears. I don't think that would be. And then let's not to mention that, you know, they have the second party stuff, the Game Pass stuff that goes in Game Pass Day 1. Like, that's a good year to me. What do you guys think? Like,
That's a good year. And then they could go 2023. We'll give you a killer.
we'll
year.
go to 2023 in a second. All right, so
Okay.
would you agree that that's a good year, Matt?
That's a very good year.
Yeah, that's
I
a very
think
good.
every year for Xbox is going to look very good starting next year. Very, very good. And only going to get better
if
and better and better.
Starfield comes out this year, they could save this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Halo delivers as well, because, you know, Halo can come out and maybe you and I will like it because we're actually, I don't think you're that big a Halo fan, but I'm a huge Halo fan. Even if it's like a mediocre-ish Halo title, I'm still probably going to enjoy it because it's Halo, even if it's not some masterpiece. But if they really nail this game, you can't say Microsoft had a bad year, especially with Starfield that's, you know, coming out as well. So
Imagine
yeah,
if Halo and Starfield come out and they're both good games.
I think there's a very good chance of that.
That would be a great year. Now, let's get into 2023 because I feel like this is the year where shit gets a little weird. You know,
I think this is the year where they really do. 2022 was your warm-up month. They had some pretty big games, a good year, but this is the year they could go, okay. So we'll only drop 3 games, but let's say we only need to drop 3, but let's say we drop an Elder Scrolls, a Doom, and a Gears, and a Forza Horizon. That is a killer year. And that's not even, you could probably even throw Fable in there and be like, look at that for a year.
2023, I think, is going to probably be one of the best years they'll have. I think,
easy.
I think we could see a Fable in 2023. I think we could see
Perfect Dark.
What else?
State of Decay.
See, look, that's the crazy part. That's why I try to tell people. Like, PlayStation makes amazing games. They do. But you can get outpaced. And to me, do you think it's an issue, Meds, if, and you can answer too, obviously, Death, but like, clearly I'm not going to get an objective opinion from you out of this question, Death. So I got to ask Meds first. All right. So to me, you'll have scenarios where, because they own all these studios, and let's say they do decent, they own all these studios. Do you think do you think PlayStation will have to answer it? Because what will end up happening is you'll have years like 2023, 2022, where they have so much in the works they have to push stuff out, and for every one game PlayStation makes, Microsoft's publishing 3. Do you think
I don't think so. I don't think PlayStation needs to pull any drastic moves or anything like that.
Okay, let's talk about PlayStation games then. What comes out next year? God of War?
Let's say God of War for sure. God of War for sure.
Okay, let's say Horizon comes out this year. What else comes out next year?
Next year, honestly, I don't know what they've got. I honestly don't know what they've got.
Maybe Gran Turismo?
Oh, yeah. Gran Turismo, yeah, of course. That's going to be a huge seller, like it always is.
And then the year after that?
Naughty Dog.
The thing is that they haven't really announced anything outside of this year, so
I get it, but we can only
really
go off their studios. Like, if we talk about their studios in general, a lot of the studios already shot shots.
You're talking about 2022 now? In 2022, you'll probably see something from. Well, the thing is, damn, like honestly, like they've shot their load.
That's
on
what I'm saying. A lot of their games have already shot their shots.
Anything. They just dropped 2 games in Insomniac.
I mean, we're not going to see a Naughty Dog game for a while.
Naughty Dog.
We might see God of War next year. Which, don't get it wrong, God of War is going to do fucking. Well, I don't like cussing anymore. Can't believe I did that.
15 million for sure.
Shout out to ATL for the $5 super chat support. I appreciate all the support you guys give me. ATL has always been a huge supporter, and I definitely appreciate you. Now, God of War is going to do numbers. It's going to impact.
Of course.
But it's like I said, next year, man, like, you'll have scenarios to where it's like God of War is going to do amazing, but then after a couple months, no one's going to be talking about it anymore.
The thing is, all they need next year is God of War and Gran Turismo, because those are 2 like heavy hitters. And like honestly, you only need like 2 a year. You
I
could
get that,
possibly
but
throw in a third, but what
I
do
mean,
you really?
you look at it from like a Forza Horizon, Avowed, Hellblade,
I
and
mean, I
that's
fully
just
believe that whatever Forza comes out is still going to be better than Gran Turismo.
let's say next year. You know, how long has it been since the last Wolfenstein game came out?
We're not going to count
We're-
Youngblood. That wasn't even the same
Well,
company.
they always
so-
have a way smaller team making that game than they.
I mean, the
they
thing
make
is
the
it
game.
Machine Games the ones making the Indiana Jones game? So who's to say that
But
Wolfenstein game's coming
it's a
out soon?
very thing out there that they've been working on a Wolfenstein game like that.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
All right, so
it's been very out there.
so maybe next year, yeah.
I mean,
Like in terms of quantity, they're probably gonna have more
But see,
quantity
the
than
thing is
PlayStation.
their quantity because of Bethesda, as long as they're exclusive. Now this could be all thrown out the window if they're not exclusive. It could be quality too. Because no one's saying Wolfenstein wasn't a quality game. No one's saying
The
Doom
thing is,
wasn't a quality
PlayStation's got
game.
third-party exclusives too, because
They
you gotta
do, they
remember
do,
next
they
year
do.
might be Final Fantasy 16. Final
Shout out
Fantasy
to-
16 might be next year. Who
Shout
knows?
out to Smitty Smith with the $5 super chat. Salute Lord Addict. I appreciate it, Smitty Smith, man. You know, IOP people, man. The community is very good to me, and I appreciate it, man. I definitely do.
The thing is, I look over the studios and I'm struggling to fit all these games into a year because I
Now,
look at the
don't get me-
studios.
Like, don't get me sorry. Let me say something real quick before you go. It will never be a scenario where Sony's platform isn't valuable enough to own. You know what I'm saying? It's always gonna be, the God of War's on there, the Horizon's on there. You know, they got some of the best talent in the world. But there is a scenario because of Game Pass, because of the Bethesda purchases, and because of the sheer amount of quality studios that they own because of this Bethesda purchase, that as long as nothing has changed on how they develop, we don't know how Microsoft's doing this shit yet. You know what I'm saying? That the quality that they can deliver is going to outpace Sony to where people are going to only have Sony as a secondary console. Because it's like Game Pass isn't on there. If you're a fan of Bethesda games, why would you even play on PlayStation? I mean,
that's a good question. I mean, personally, I only use PlayStation as a secondary console anyway, right?
But you get what I'm saying.
PC
Like,
guy.
I'm not trying to shit talk PlayStation. The only argument that I'm having is if they don't correct, and I'm not saying like buy a publisher or something. I'm saying they're going to have a little bit more in terms of game production than necessarily.
They might just up their team sizes, just hire a ton of people.
Oh,
like,
they could do that. If studios
bro.
start making like 2 or 3 games simultaneously, it would help stuff. But
Dude, Insomniac released a game in 2018, and they just released a game in 2020, and they're about to release another game in 2021. That's 3 games in 4 years. That's huge. And if Insomniac can do it, who's to say that a bunch of their other studios can't do it?
I'd have to see.
Like Naughty Dog once released Uncharted 2 and 3, I think, back-to-back years, or like 2 years apart, and then they released a game in 2009, 2011, and then again in 2013 with Last of Us. So like they can put out games at a very fast pace. It's just
they can, but
a matter of having the people.
Let's take Insomniac real quick, okay? Like, as much as Miles was a huge success, it was a shell of the 2018 one.
It was a shorter game, yeah.
Yeah, and is that the direction that PlayStation fans wanted to go, where they don't focus on necessarily the quality's still there? It's just like the size of the game shortens. You get what I'm saying?
You can afford to make shorter games, man. Like, look at Days Gone. Days Gone was like, what, 50 hours? That game could have been easily 20 hours shorter and probably been a better game for it. You know what I mean? Like, length doesn't necessarily mean
it
quality.
doesn't. But if you want to get this stuff out in the fashion that making multiple titles in one studio would, you would have to make smaller games. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not a game developer. I got a couple dev friends I can hit up about that, but we won't talk into that too much. Like, that's all I really have to say about that. It's just like, to me personally, I feel like it's like I said, we brought up these games in the next couple years. We didn't bring up Compulsion. We didn't bring up Undead Labs. We didn't bring up any second party studio that they're working with. Not to mention that it's highly rumored that they're buying Sega. Let's say they buy Sega. You think it gets worse? Then you have like games like Persona, Yakuza. You get what I'm saying? Like you can't.
And no, go on.
The bully's always been the bully, but you can always get 3 of your friends and beat the shit out of the bully. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel you, man.
And that's just how I feel. Like, I'm not devaluing the platform. I think it would take Sony devaluing their own damn platform. There's nothing they could possibly, unless they start making bad games. I've always said it from day one.
They won't.
It doesn't matter if it's a new IP. It doesn't matter if it's an old IP. It doesn't matter if it's a timed exclusive. If it's a good game, people will come. I've always said it doesn't matter how bad Xbox's influence is and how bad Xbox's name is in the industry. If you make a good enough game, all that's out the window.
Absolutely. I don't see I see what you're predicting, like basically like Xbox maybe even 2-to-1ing PlayStation in terms of like number of releases, but that gap between console sales is still not gonna get any closer. I just don't see that happening. I think PlayStation's still gonna be the dominant force. Xbox can just make it a little bit more competitive.
So, do you think that, let's say that the gap between the consoles don't get smaller, but the gap of revenue goes up?
I think that gap will close. Not probably all the way.
Because I mean, at the end of the day,
will be above that. But
at the end of the day,
who knows?
Does it matter what console sells more if if the one losing is making more money than the one winning?
I'm just saying the talking points that like the fanboys are gonna use.
Oh, I get it. I completely get it.
They're gonna say that that they're losing 2-to-1, which is probably true. But the fact is that PlayStation's revenue is still is gonna rise as well, because they're also putting the games on PC now. So,
and not to mention, I mean, there's a lot of things that not like Sega things, but there's a lot of things that make me think that Sony is really looking into buying Square Enix. Like, there's been little things like, how do you go? The reason I kind of like, there's not any like definite proof with Square Enix besides a couple like fake insiders saying it, but besides that, you could see like a pattern. There for a couple years, Square was releasing everything on everything. Everything was a multi-plat. But here all of a sudden, is Project Athena coming out for Xbox, Meds?
As far as we know, no.
Is Final Fantasy VII out for Xbox? Is Final Fantasy
as far as we know, no.
Xbox? Like,
16 is probably never coming to Xbox.
That's my point. Like, you see a change in trajectory with what they're doing. It used to be everything was multi-plat. I mean, but now it's just this crazy amount of Sony deals, and I don't think it could be that they have a great relationship with it, but I think it's deeper than that. You don't get this much stuff with it's just a relationship. Like, it's got to have money on top of that, and how much is Sony willing to pay for stuff like that? I don't know.
How much is Square willing to sell? Because
Square is a publicly owned company, so it's not easy to buy them.
And I know Square isn't struggling for cash. Square's balling after Final Fantasy.
Man. People want to act like Sony broke. Sony ain't broke. Sony don't have Microsoft money, but Sony ain't broke.
Sony ain't broke, but I know Square Enix ain't gonna go. You're gonna have to fork out a few bills for Square Enix. Like, they ain't gonna go for less than that.
So Sony could afford that.
They could afford that.
They could easily buy Square Enix.
Nah, I think if they had the money to buy them, these deals wouldn't exist, because they would just do what Xbox did and just buy them.
But my thing is when it comes to Sony, it's easier to convince a boardroom to invest billions of dollars when you're sitting on trillions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you have to let me talk real quick. So you have to invest and expand to make money. And when you have that kind of revenue, it's easier to convince people to do that. Oh, like, investors don't want to lose money, but when they're sitting on that type of money, it's easier to convince a boardroom to invest that type of money. But when you go to someone like Sony, like, I don't know how much Sony's worth, and I know it's way more than Square's worth, but it would be a lot harder to convince them, because if they bought them, let's say this Bethesda deal doesn't work out, they have to sell Xbox. I know it's worst case scenario. Do you think that's going to hurt Microsoft in the long run, Meds?
I apologize. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Let's say that all this happens, this Bethesda deal doesn't work, and like, well, man, let's just get rid of let's just get rid of Xbox. Like, we're over this. We tried the gaming thing, it didn't work. Do you think that hurts Microsoft in the long run?
No. Microsoft will still keep trucking along as
let's
they
say
always
Square
have.
Enix is bought by Sony and that doesn't work out, and that all that money they put into, do you think that could hurt their overall?
I think that could potentially end the company.
That's what I'm saying. It's easier to convince people to do something when they have more money to throw around.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Got $5 super chat from Dirt Griggity. Xbox might not ever outsell PS, but people can't say Xbox isn't competing. Completely agree with you, 100%.
Yeah,
they
very
probably
true.
will never outsell them, but they're doing what we wanted them to do. They are trying to compete with the platform. What were you saying, Death? I'm sorry.
Alright, problem with Square is, Square has a good relationship with Nintendo too. Like, look at the exclusive games that have only come out for the Switch from Square. Then, like, so for that Project Triangle, or whatever it is, that's Square. Like, they are looking after the Japanese companies more so than anywhere else, which makes sense. Square Enix, Sony doesn't need to buy Square Enix, because if they have a great relationship, they can walk in and go, oh, could we have that game exclusive? Here's the cash. Cool, thank you. They don't need to buy them, because they could just buy the games exclusive. So they're like, okay, keep making games, we'll just buy our exclusives off you. Why fork out the money when you could just keep buying the exclusive rights to all the games?
I agree with you, but like, it's like Med said, like, you always have a scenario where it's not gonna be it. Like, obviously Google they're not really doing much. I think with Google being defused in the gaming industry, I think a lot of that worrisome that a lot of people have of, you know, these giant wall gardens of subscription services and gaming, I think that's gone now. Yeah, because, you know, Google's not going out and buying billions of dollars worth of studios anymore. If they literally cut the studios they currently have, would you agree, Meds?
Yeah, Google's little foray into gaming is fucking dead. It's over.
Yeah, I don't think Amazon's doing anything like that. So I think, you know, Sony can calm down a little bit on like the big acquisitions. I think that was one of the big scares. Look, if we don't spend $7.5 billion, Google might buy them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the thing is that there's still a lot of Chinese money being thrown around.
oh yeah, Tencent's definitely out there, but Tencent's not a platform owner either. So
and that Aspire Group people, they also have been snatching up a lot of people. The people who own THQ Nordic and Deep Silver and all that, they've been buying up a lot of studios as well. And shit, Epic is out here spending some money too. So just because Google isn't out here, you know, flexing their cash, I don't think Sony.
I get what you're saying. Like, regardless if Google's not flexing
either.
cash.
Yeah, just because Google's out of the game doesn't mean that, you know.
And I get what you're saying, because if they buy these studios, they can make their own subscription service and it will compete directly with Game Pass. And that's definitely probably going to happen, because THQ Nordic owns like half the industry. So I mean,
yeah.
They literally own every AA title you could think of.
And everybody is everybody's making their own service. Ubisoft has their own service, and so does EA. It's just these services don't exist on console yet, but they will eventually, or they'll fold some of these services into Game Pass, just like Microsoft did with EA. That's very possible. But these things are already happening on PC, on the PC side, so don't be surprised if you see some of that trickle down into the console space as well.
I definitely understand that. So, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple questions that's in the chat and go ahead and get out of here. You know, first thing I want to talk about, I want to bring it up again. You know, I appreciate everyone in the chat, especially if you're over there in the ILP chat. You know, Sunday was a really big day for me. And, you know, that was one of the first, that podcast has 10,000 plus views. And it's still going. And that's because of the people in the chat, it's people sharing the stuff on Twitter. Like, don't let these influencers lie to you. They wouldn't be anything without you at all. you can't elevate a platform without the people watching. And I really want to appreciate everyone. I mean, Death, Meds, you came on here. My voice was caving out because I coughed so much, and I appreciate you helping me not talk all the time. And IOP's community is simply astonishing. Like, it really is. Everyone in here, Meds knows a little bit of our guest list. I can't go on it because Cognito would kill me if I start ruining some of these guests we have lined up. And Meds has.
They're huge, though. They're huge.
Yeah, he would kill me. Like, we're having a pretty good person on this coming up Sunday. Cat Daddy, I think I'll tell you on Twitter. You guys will find out in like 3 days. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. You're going to find out. I will give you a hint. It is an influencer. It's not an industry guest. So I want to keep expectations. We're not having like Phil Spencer or anything like that. It's an influencer. They like to review games. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully, unless something comes up and stuff cancels, hopefully everything goes the way it's supposed to. It's going to be a great podcast. And it's episode 200. I've been doing this shit for 200 episodes, man. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I appreciate all 80 plus people in here. I can honestly say 100% YouTube has kept me alive. Like, no joke, no cap. YouTube has kept me alive. It's always been my outlet to get me distracted. Every time something goes on, it's always been something that I could latch onto and distract myself from my evil ass mind. And I definitely appreciate everyone for being there. And it's not ACG. And that's all I wanted to say to you guys, man. Meds, where can people find you? I know you don't have a YouTube channel or anything like that, but you're on podcasts, and I'm sure people want to hear you often.
Nah. People don't want to hear me. All the podcasts I do are all terrible. Don't listen to them. But if I'm ever on the ILP, definitely tune into that because I'm the greatest guest they've ever had. But
I think
I appreciate you letting me on
here probably next month. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm appearing on ILP very soon. So definitely tune into that episode and every episode of ILP because it's one of the best podcasts going. And catch me on Twitter, actually Meds. I talk a lot of shit about mostly MMA and sometimes PC gaming. Because I gotta put you console cucks in your place sometime, but it's all good. I still have love for you peasants, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah, and what I've always liked about you is you're definitely a PC dude, but you're that kind that you just want what's best for you. You are me with the Addict world.
I
want what I want.
Sure.
I don't care what anyone else wants, and that's the crazy thing. People sit there and say Addict world. Like I feel like people joke with it, and I feel like some people legitimately try to attack me with that phrase. I don't care. I have completely embraced it. I'm the mayor of the Addict world, and you're not invited. You couldn't even get in. So it's like I said. I appreciate it. Now, Death Singer, are you even on a podcast these days?
I guess, no.
Death Singer's on a podcast anytime something bad happens at PlayStation. Let me just tell you that right now.
Or anytime something good happens on Xbox.
I mean, you can generally find me on Scumcast with the great Ashen Luger. I mean, normally when some messy business is going down, I will definitely slide in there, But no, outside of that, no, not really.
And it's like I said, once again, I want to thank the chat. I want to thank, especially the people that watch IOP. You've helped build the brand what it is. There's good things to come. We got good guests coming up. And I think you guys are going to be very, very surprised on the direction that we go. But this is Gaming Addict. This is Addict Show. It's over. I'm out. Peace.